Welcome, traveler. Tonight we step into a realm of myth, a place where clouds are alive, and storms carry the whispers of gods. Close your eyes, if you wish. Let the sound of thunder guide you. Let the wind carry you to a time before reason and time itself. Long ago, every storm held a secret. Every thunderclap carried a message. Hidden in the heart of lightning was a story waiting to be told. Among these mysteries, one burned brighter than all others. A legend that shimmered like a blade of light. The Thunderblade of Zeus. It was said to be more than a weapon. Some believed it commanded storms. Others swore it spoke in the voice of the Father of Gods. But the truth was hidden. The blade lay veiled in clouds, resting where only the pure of heart could ever reach it. This is not a tale of conquest, not a story of bloodshed or fear. It is a tale of wonder, a search for truth, and in that search, a discovery. The greatest power is not destruction, but harmony. So let us begin. A seeker, a prophecy, and the hidden song of the storm. The night was restless. Clouds moved like great ships across the sky, heavy with rain, swollen with lightning. The air held a stillness before the storm, a silence so deep it almost sang. And somewhere, in the heart of that silence, there was a whisper. It was faint, softer than the rustle of leaves, yet it seemed to echo across valleys and fields. Travelers on lonely roads paused, certain they had heard a voice. Farmers closing their shutters glanced upward, feeling the storm itself was trying to speak. This was no ordinary thunder. It was the murmur of an ancient secret, woven into the skies. Some said it was the sky warning the earth. Others believed it was Zeus himself, whispering from the clouds. Stories spread quickly among the people, tales of a blade born of lightning, not a weapon of battle, but a gift of truth. It was said to shine brighter than 1,000 suns, yet no mortal had ever seen it. Parents told their children, "When you hear thunder, listen closely, for hidden in the roar is the call of Zeus. If you are pure of heart, you may hear the thunder blade." But whispers travel far, and along the way, they change. Some believed the blade could control storms. Others thought it could summon the seas or command the winds. A few said it was not a blade at all, but a key to a truth greater than gods or mortals could hold. For most, the whisper remained only a mystery, a passing sound carried by thunder. But not for everyone. In a quiet village, surrounded by hills and olive groves, lived a young seeker. Her name was Lyra. Lyra grew up listening to storms as though they were songs. While others hid from the sky, she stepped outside, standing still beneath the downpour, eyes lifted to the clouds. Neighbors called it strange, some thought it foolish, but Lyra felt something stir inside whenever thunder rolled. It was as if the storm was not meant to frighten, but to guide. One night, lightning split the heavens. Thunder roared so loudly, the earth trembled, and Lyra heard it clearly. The whisper, hidden within the crash of thunder, not a sound of fear, but words without language. A message not spoken but felt. Her heart raced. She leaned closer to the storm, and in that instant, she sensed a name. The Thunderblade. From that night on, Lyra could no longer rest. The whisper followed her into dreams. She woke at dawn with the echo still alive in her chest. It was not fear. It was not command. It was a call, a gentle pull towards something unknown, yet familiar. Days passed. Weeks followed. The whisper remained, and Lyra knew. The truth within the storm was hers to seek. The elders told her to forget. "Storms speak nonsense," they said. "Do not build your life on thunder." But Lyra smiled. She knew storms did not lie. They roared and raged, but inside them lived honesty, the kind only nature could hold. So under the endless sky, Lyra made a quiet promise. She would follow the whisper. She would chase the story of the Thunderblade, not for power, not for glory, but simply to know For storms, she believed, do not call to warriors. They call to listeners, and the storm was waiting for her. The night was restless. Clouds moved like great ships across the sky, heavy with rain, swollen with lightning. The air held a stillness before the storm, a silence so deep it almost sang. And somewhere in the heart of that silence, there was a whisper. It was faint, softer than the rustle of leaves, yet it seemed to echo across valleys and fields. Travelers on lonely roads paused, certain they had heard a voice. Farmers closing their shutters glanced upward, feeling the storm itself was trying to speak. This was no ordinary thunder. It was the murmur of an ancient secret, woven into the skies. Some said it was the sky warning the earth. Others believed it was Zeus himself, whispering from the clouds. Stories spread quickly among the people. Tales of a blade born of lightning, not a weapon of battle, but a gift of truth. It was said to shine brighter than 1,000 suns. Yet no mortal had ever seen it. Parents told their children, "When you hear thunder, listen closely, for hidden in the roar is the call of Zeus. If you are pure of heart, you may hear the Thunderblade. But whispers travel far, and along the way, they change." Some believed the blade could control storms. Others thought it could summon the seas or command the winds. A few said it was not a blade at all, but a key to a truth greater than gods or mortals could hold. For most, the whisper remained only a mystery, a passing sound carried by thunder. But not for everyone. In a quiet village, surrounded by hills and olive groves, lived a young seeker. Her name was Lyra. Lyra grew up listening to storms as though they were songs. While others hid from the sky, she stepped outside, standing still beneath the downpour, eyes lifted to the clouds. Neighbors called it strange. Some thought it foolish. But Lyra felt something stir inside whenever thunder rolled. It was as if the storm was not meant to frighten, but to guide. One night, lightning split the heavens. Thunder roared so loudly, the earth trembled. And Lyra heard it clearly. The whisper, hidden within the crash of thunder. Not a sound of fear, but words without language. A message not spoken but felt. Her heart raced. She leaned closer to the storm, and in that instant, she sensed a name. The Thunderblade. From that night on, Lyra could no longer rest. The whisper followed her into dreams. She woke at dawn with the echo still alive in her chest. It was not fear. It was not command. It was a call, a gentle pull toward something unknown, yet familiar. Days passed. Weeks followed. The whisper remained. And Lyra knew. The truth within the storm was hers to seek. The elders told her to forget. "Storms speak nonsense," they said. "Do not build your life on thunder." But Lyra smiled. She knew storms did not lie. They roared and raged, but inside them lived honesty, the kind only nature could hold. So under the endless sky, Lyra made a quiet promise. She would follow the whisper. She would chase the story of the Thunderblade, not for power, not for glory, but simply to know. For storms, she believed, do not call to warriors. They call to listeners, and the storm was waiting for her. The road carried Lyra farther than she had ever gone. Days blurred together as she walked winding paths through hills and valleys. At night, she slept beneath the stars, listening for the whisper of the storm. It came, not always, but enough to remind her she was on the right path. She passed merchants leading donkeys, shepherds guiding flocks, musicians singing to the wind. Most ignored her, yet a few saw the quiet fire in her eyes. They nodded in silence, as though recognizing a journey they could not take. At last, she reached a city greater than any she had known. Its white walls rose tall and the Sunday temples crowned the hills. Smoke curled from sacred fires. Voices filled the air like a river of sound, flowing through crowded streets. The city was famed for its oracle, whose words carried the breath of the gods. Rulers sought her before great choices, sailors before voyages, farmers before planting. Some came with questions of the heart, others with burdens too heavy for words. Lyra came not for wealth or power, but because the storm had led her here. At dawn, she climbed the marble steps of the oracle's temple. Pilgrims lined the stairway, offerings in hand, fruit, oil, incense. Lyra had only her cloak and her courage. Inside, firelight glowed. The air was thick with herbs. A low hum filled the temple, as if the stones themselves were singing. At the far end sat the oracle, eyes closed, listening beyond the world. When Lyra's turn came, she stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but clear. I heard a whisper in the storm. It spoke the name of the Thunderblade. Tell me what it means. The oracle opened her eyes, deep and still like hidden water. She studied Lyra in silence, measuring her spirit. Finally, her voice rang low, each word carved like stone. The Thunderblade is not what it seems. Many dream of it as a weapon. Many seek it as a prize. But it is neither. It is not power over others. It is power over the self. Lyra's heart raced at her words. The whisper was not a call to battle, the oracle said, but a call to truth. If you seek the Thunderblade, walk not the path of conquest, but of harmony. Only then will it reveal itself. Lyra bowed her head. Where must I go? How will I know the way? The oracle closed her eyes once more. You will not know by sight, but by listening. The storm will guide you. Follow the rivers. Climb the mountains. When the sky feels alive around you, you will be near. The temple hummed again, agreeing with her words. Lyra stepped back slowly, her heart heavy yet light. She had not been given a map. She had not been given certainty. But she had been given something greater, a direction of spirit. Outside, the city roared with life, but within Lyra, there was quiet. She needed no applause, no carved answers. The oracle had spoken. Her words glowed like sparks waiting to catch fire. The journey would be long, perhaps endless, but Lyra knew she would walk it. The storm had not chosen her by chance. It had chosen her because she was willing to listen, and in listening, she had taken her first true step toward the Thunderblade. The oracle's words followed Lyra through the city streets. They whispered louder than merchants' cries or clattering carts. Asterisk. Follow the rivers. Climb the mountains. Asterisk. The words were simple, yet they rang with mystery. That night she rested at the city's edge, beneath an olive tree. Lantern light faded. Stars opened above her. She wondered if the constellations were guiding her too. Sleep came slowly, carrying dreams of flowing water and lightning skies. At dawn, she set her feet toward the nearest river. It wound silver across the plain, steady and unhurried. Lyra walked beside it, listening for the storm's voice. Each ripple and splash seemed part of a secret language. Travelers moved along the same path. Fishermen, mothers, laughing youths. Life followed the river like a heartbeat. By midday, the river narrowed, rushing over hidden rocks. Lyra paused, closing her eyes to listen. At first, it was only endless sound. But slowly, the roar shaped itself into faint meaning. Asterisk. Do not rush. Flow as the river flows. The path is not straight, but it always moves forward. Asterisk. Lyra opened her eyes, calm filling her chest. The river taught patience, showing strength and persistence. By evening, she followed it into a quiet valley. The laughter of travelers faded. The water's voice, her only companion. She sang softly, half words, half humming, answering the echoes. At twilight, the river widened into a golden pool. The stillness felt alive. Waiting, Lyra knelt, dipping her hand into the cool water. A shimmer moved beneath the surface, like lightning trapped in liquid. It vanished quickly, leaving only ripples. Her breath caught, but she did not chase it. The oracle had warned her. Harmony, not conquest. She bowed her head, whispering thanks to the river. That night, she camped by the pool under stars. Frogs and crickets sang a chorus into the dark. She listened, weaving their sounds into her dreams. Though her journey was still young, she felt herself changing. Each step, each whisper, shaped her spirit unseen. As sleep came, she knew the river had carried her deeper into herself. Mountains and storms still waited. But for now, the river of echoes held her in gentle embrace. And somewhere, far away, the storm was listening too. Morning light broke across the valley, painting the pool in silver. Lyra awoke to the river's murmur, steady and patient, guiding her onward. The oracle's words returned. Asterisk. Climb the mountains. Asterisk. She rose, her pack light, but her spirit filled with questions. The river curved toward distant hills. Beyond them, sharp peaks cut the sky. They seemed impossibly far, yet something urged her forward. Her path crossed meadows bright, with flowers swaying in the breeze. Bees hummed, shepherds sang. Flocks moved across the green slopes. Lyra walked with purpose, letting beauty fill her heart as she listened. By midday, the earth grew steeper, stone replacing soft ground. The trail twisted sharply upward, testing her resolve. She paused often, not from weakness, but to feel the wind. It carried pine and echoes, as if the mountain itself was breathing. The river had taught patience. Strength lived in persistence. One breath, one step, one heartbeat. Her climb was steady, and steadiness became its own power. Travelers descended the trail, faces warmed by the Sunday. An elder paused, eyes kind, voice calm. The mountain tests more than your body. It tests patience and faith. Remember that when the air grows thin. Lyra bowed her thanks and climbed on, his words a torch. The trail narrowed, winding between high cliffs. Shadows stretched long, stone walls rising like giants. She felt small, yet strength grew quietly in her chest. She was not here to conquer. She was here to walk with the mountain. By late afternoon, she reached a plateau. The world opened around her, valley below shimmering in fading light. The river glittered like a thread of silver far beneath. Clouds drifted close, as though she could reach out and touch them. Here the wind no longer whispered. It sang. The air thrummed with a living pulse, echoing the river's song. Lyra closed her eyes, letting the sound fill her spirit. The storm's presence stirred distant yet near, fierce yet gentle. It rumbled like a promise. Asterisk. You are not alone. Asterisk. Lyra opened her eyes as stars appeared in the sky. She set her pack down, built a small fire. Flames danced against the backdrop of stone and night. Alone, yet not lonely, she listened to silence between gusts of wind. Dreams came quickly. She stood at the peak, lightning curling around her like a cloak. She reached for it. It did not burn. It glowed, waiting for her to understand. She woke with the dawn, her heart steady. The journey was far from over. But each step carried her closer not only to the Thunderblade, but to herself. The mountain was not only a climb, it was a mirror, and in its reflection, Lyra saw courage to keep rising. The mountain path grew rugged, stones shifting beneath her boots, cliffs rising like ancient guardians. Each step lifted her higher into thinner air, where the wind sang louder, colder, yet alive. By midday, clouds gathered, rolling heavy across the peaks, veiling the sun in shifting gray. Lyra pulled her cloak close, but felt no fear the storm was near. Not in anger, but in watchfulness. Then she saw it, a cave in the rock face, half hidden by ivy, dark and waiting in silence. It drew her in, not with force, but quiet invitation, a breathless pause in the mountain song. She stepped inside. Cool air wrapped around her, scented of earth and stone, echoes soft and alive. Light faded as she walked deeper until shadow embraced her. At the heart of the cave, a still pool gleamed, glassy and calm. Lyra knelt, her reflection shimmering with flickers of memory village. Mother's smile, storm's whisper. She touched the surface. It did not stir. Calm flowed through her hand and into her chest. She closed her eyes. The world melted away, the climb, the wind, the endless journey. In the silence, a voice rose. Not thunder, not rushing river, not wind, but silence itself, speaking clear. Asterisk. Strength is not always movement. Wisdom is not always noise. Asterisk. The words moved through her, gentle as rain. She realized the storm brought her here not to act, but to pause. For what is lightning without the calm sky that holds it? What is the river without the quiet pool that reflects it? Lyra sat long in silence, letting the cave teach her stillness. Her mind slowed, her heart steadied, balance blooming within. When she opened her eyes, the pool's reflection had changed. Not only her face, but a horizon, mountains, rivers, storm clouds, stars woven together. And within, a faint glimmer, a blade of light, not steel, pure and waiting. It vanished, leaving calm waters. Yet she did not feel loss, only gift. Truth revealed in glimpses was enough to keep walking. She rose, bowed to the cave, like a student to her teacher. "Thank you," she whispered. Her words sank into stone, received and understood. Outside, the storm had passed. Clouds parted. Blue sky opened wide. Sunlight poured warm across the path, filling her with breath. She carried the cave's stillness with her, step by step. Movement and stillness. Sound and silence. Strength and patience. All were part of the whole, guiding her toward the Thunderblade. And ahead, the storm waited, ready to teach her more. The morning after the cave was bright, the mountain air crisp and new. Lyra breathed deeply, carrying the stillness she had learned into the day. The climb continued, but now her steps were steady and calm. She no longer raced. She walked with the rhythm of the path. By noon, the trail opened onto a high ridge. Before her stretched endless peaks, valleys winding like rivers of green. She paused, awestruck by the vastness of the mountain's crown. Then the wind came. It swept across the ridge, lifting her cloak, pulling at her hair. It was not violent, but alive, demanding her attention. She steadied herself as the whistling grew louder. Within the rush of air, she began to hear voices. At first it was only sound, but slowly words emerged. Asterisk. Who are you when no one is watching? Asterisk. Asterisk. Do you walk for yourself? Or for the world beyond? Asterisk. Asterisk. Is the blade your goal, or is it your reflection? Asterisk. The questions turned in her mind, sharp yet inviting. She closed her eyes, letting the voices swirl around her. Memories rose like echoes. Childhood, her people, the oracle's gaze. The wind pressed harder, almost pushing her to her knees. More questions roared within it, fierce and unyielding. Asterisk. Do you seek power or harmony? Do you carry courage or hunger? Asterisk. Her heart pounded, but she breathed. Recalling river and cave, she whispered, I walk not for power but for truth. I seek not the blade for myself, but for balance, for all. The wind shifted. It softened, carrying her words away. For a moment, silence spread across the ridge. Then the wind laughed, a chorus of voices in harmony. It danced around her, swirling cloak and hair in light spirals. She raised her arms, no longer resisting, only moving with it. The voices sang together. Asterisk. Truth is not given. It is chosen. Asterisk. Asterisk. The storm does not make you, it reveals you. Asterisk. Tears welled in her eyes, not of sorrow but of release. Each teacher, the river, the cave, the wind, spoke in their way. The breeze settled, gentle now, fragrant, with pine and rain. Lyra smiled, heart steady, step lighter than before. The wind no longer tested her. It walked beside her. As the sun set, peaks burned gold against the fading sky. She knew she had passed another threshold on her path. The Thunderblade was not just at the journey's end. It was being forged within her, truth by truth. And so she walked, guided by the wind's gift, the courage to know herself. The ridge narrowed into stone steps, carved by forgotten hands. Lyra placed her feet with care, each step echoing against the mountain. She did not know where they led, but she trusted their rhythm. By afternoon, the steps widened into a terrace. Before her stood a temple, carved from the mountain itself. Pillars rose like stone trees, weathered yet steady as truth. Lyra paused at the entrance. Wind moved through the archways, carrying a chorus of whispers. They were not eerie but inviting, alive with memory. She stepped inside. The chamber was vast, its ceiling lost in shadow. Carvings spiraled along the walls, rivers, mountains, storms, stars. Her footsteps stirred the air, and whispers grew clearer. They were voices, ancient yet warm, layered together. Asterisk. Every seeker must pass through stillness. Every seeker through truth. Asterisk. The lessons of river, cave, and wind wove into one voice. At the heart of the chamber stood a circle of stone. Lyra entered it without hesitation. The air thickened, humming with unseen energy. Whispers gathered, shaking the walls. Asterisk. Why have you come? Asterisk. Lyra did not fear. She breathed deep, standing tall. I walk for truth. I walk for balance. The Thunderblade is not mine alone. It belongs to the world. The air stilled. Then light burst from the carvings. Rivers glowed silver, mountains gold, storms blue white, stars alive. The chamber filled with radiance. Lyra closed her eyes, visions rising within the light. She saw seekers before her, carrying lessons home. She saw storms not destroying, but renewing the earth. She saw the Thunderblade, a thread connecting all who sought harmony. The light faded. She opened her eyes. The whispers softened, tender and clear. Asterisk. The blade is not a gift to claim. It is a truth to carry. Asterisk. Asterisk. You are not chosen. You are choosing. Asterisk. Lyra placed her hand on her heart. She understood. The blade had been with her all along. It grew with each step, shaped by river, mountain, cave, and wind. She bowed her head. I choose. The whispers stilled. Silence filled the chamber, whole and complete. Stepping outside, Lyra saw the sun lowering behind the peaks. The temple glowed in golden light. She turned once to look back. It was not a place to return to, but a lesson to carry. The wind moved gently at her back. The river glittered below. Storm clouds gathered above. The journey was not finished, but she felt no burden, only truth. The Thunderblade was not hers to keep. It was hers to live and to share. The mountain, silent and steady, seemed to nod in agreement. The descent from the temple was steep, but Lyra's steps were steady. The whispers still lingered, guiding her like threads of memory. The Thunderblade was not to seize, but to carry as truth. The mountain path curved downward, and the air shifted. The wind grew colder, heavy with stone and soil. Shadows stretched longer than they should, bending like they lived. By dusk, Lyra reached a wide valley. It lay between ridges, cloaked in mist that curled like smoke. Unlike river or temple, this place felt uncertain. Light and shadow wrestled for balance here. At the valley's edge, her heart trembled. Not fear, but weight of the unknown. Every path has a purpose, she whispered, and she stepped forward. The mist thickened, wrapping around her like a veil. Her footsteps echoed, repeating in strange ways. The valley seemed to carry voices of its own. Between the echoes, words emerged. Asterisk. Do you walk with light or with shadow? Asterisk. Lyra breathed deep. I walk with balance. Light blinds without shadow. Shadow consumes without light. I walk between. The mist stirred, pulling back. A faint path appeared across the valley floor. Lyra followed. Shapes rose on either side, stone, tree, or something else. Shadows stretched into forms resembling people. Kind faces, stern faces, sorrowful eyes. They were echoes of choices, mirrors of the soul. One shadow stepped forward, wearing her own face. Its eyes burned with pride. Asterisk. Would you carry the Thunderblade to prove yourself? Asterisk. I carry not for pride, but for truth. The shadow dissolved into mist. Another form emerged, trembling and small, eyes wide with fear. Asterisk. Would you leave the blade untouched, fearing its power? Asterisk. Fear teaches caution, not stillness. I will not turn away. That shadow faded too. More figures rose: doubt, anger, sorrow, hope. Each asked its question. Lyra answered each with honesty. not defiance. The valley listened. The mist thinned. Her burdens dissolved into the ground. At the valley's center stood a circle of stones. Smooth surfaces reflected dim light like water. Lyra stepped inside. The shadows swirled, gathering into one vast figure. Light and dark shifting together. A living question. Its voice was many, and one. Asterisk. Seeker. Why do you walk this path? Asterisk. Lyra's heart steadied. I walk because truth is not mine alone. I walk because balance must be remembered. I walk because the Thunderblade is harmony, not power. The great figure tilted its head. Then it dissolved into streams of light and shadow. They wove together like silk, then vanished. The mist lifted. The valley opened. The path ahead grew clear. Lyra stepped forward, breath full and steady. The shadows no longer clung. They walked at her side, companions in balance. She understood. The Thunderblade was to honor both, not to banish shadow, not to worship light, but to walk with balance. When she left the valley, the air grew warm. Stars rose bright against the evening sky. She looked back once. The mist settled quietly. At peace. Lyra smiled. Her steps were light, her heart strong. The Thunderblade's truth was clearer now. And ahead, the journey still waited. The path from the valley led downward into quiet forests. Birds no longer sang. Leaves no longer stirred. It was as if the world itself held its breath. The trees opened into a vast shore. Before her stretched a sea, still as polished glass. Its surface mirrored the sky so perfectly. It seemed like two heavens. She breathed in. The air smelled faintly of salt, yet no waves touched the sand. No tide pulled the shore. It was a sea without motion, a sea without time. At the water's edge stood a wooden boat. No one guided it, yet Lyra felt it waited for her. She stepped in. The boat glided forward, silent, as if drawn by unseen hands. The silence deepened. Her heartbeat grew louder than the sea itself. As the boat carried her, the stillness pressed on her mind. Without sound or movement, only her thoughts lived, and they sharpened with each passing moment. Doubts rose first. Asterisk. What if you are not enough? What if the Thunderblade is not yours? Asterisk. Her hands tightened on the boat's edge. The sea gave no answer. Only silence. Then came memories. Her village. Faces filled with hope. The river's patience. The mountain's strength. The cave's stillness. The wind's truth. Each memory shimmered on the water's surface. Lyra bowed her head. I am not enough alone. But I am not alone. The Thunderblade belongs not to me, but to all. I walk with their hopes as well as mine. Herr Dute softened. The silence no longer weighed her down. It listened, as if waiting for her to understand. Ahead, the horizon glowed faintly. A line of light stretched across the water. The boat followed it forward. Lyra closed her eyes, breathing into stillness. The lessons of her journey gathered inside her. Water's patience, stone's strength, wind's truth, shadow's balance. Each had always been part of the Thunderblade. Here, they joined together within her. When she opened her eyes, the glow brightened. It rose into a pillar of light at the sea's heart. The boat carried her to it. Closer now, she felt it with her spirit. It was not only light, it was harmony itself. The boat stopped at the pillar's base. Lyra stood. Her reflection was steady beside her. She reached out her hand. The pillar trembled, then flowed into her palm. It was warm, alive, the pulse of the world. It sank into her hand, her heart, her breath. Lyra gasped, not in pain, but recognition. The sea rippled for the first time. Waves spread outward, breaking silence with life. She stood in the boat, glow alive within her. The Thunderblade was not to carry, it was to live. The waves bore her back to shore. She felt whole. No longer only seeking, she had begun to become. The sea shimmered beneath the stars. Lyra knew. The Thunderblade lived in her now, and the world was waiting to hear its song. The boat touched shore, and Lyra stepped onto solid ground. The glow of the Thunderblade still pulsed softly within her chest. But before her rose the storm spire, vast and unyielding. Its peak pierced the clouds, crowned with eternal thunder. Winds circled the mountain, carrying voices of challenge and promise. Each step toward it felt heavy, yet filled with destiny. The path wound upward, narrow and carved by ancient storms. Lightning flickered above, not with anger, but with recognition. As if the sky knew she had come to claim her place, Lyra paused halfway, gazing down at the sea below. The stillness behind her met the storm ahead of her. Balance, she realized, had always been the true key. Her journey was not about force, but harmony of opposites. The mountain tested her, not with fear, but with truth. The climb grew steeper, clouds wrapping her in silver mist. Her breath matched the rhythm of the storm's heartbeat. Thunder rolled, yet it did not strike. It was a song waiting for her to join. At last, she reached a plateau near the summit. The sky opened, revealing the heart of the storm. Bolts of light danced in endless arcs, alive and beautiful. There, in the center, floated the true form of the Thunderblade. Not a weapon of steel, but pure light woven with power. It shimmered, waiting, yet not calling. Lyra stepped closer, her hand trembling, yet steady in spirit. She bowed her head, whispering words from her journey. Patience of water, strength of stone, truth of wind, balance of shadow. The Thunderblade flared brighter, its light wrapping around her. It did not strike her hand, it entered her spirit. Her body glowed, her heartbeat one with the storm. She felt the weight of skies, seas, and earth inside her. Yet instead of crushing her, it lifted her higher. The storm swirled faster, but it no longer raged. It danced, rejoicing with her awakening. The mountain no longer loomed as a trial, but as a witness. Lyra stood at its peak, the Thunderblade alive within. For the first time, she did not feel small beneath the sky. She times was times part of the sky. The storm's roar became her voice. The light of the Thunderblade became her soul's song. She whispered, not to claim power, but to honor it. I walk with the storm, not above it. Lightning curved around her, bowing in arcs of brilliance. Thunder echoed, not in wrath, but in welcome. Lyra closed her eyes, letting the storm settle within her. When she opened them again, the world below stretched vast and waiting. The Thunderblade had chosen, and she had become its bearer not to rule, but to guide. The peak grew still, as if the mountain itself exhaled. Lyra stood ready for what lay beyond. The storm was no longer outside her. It lived within her, and the world would never be the same. The mountain stood silent behind her as she descended. The storm had settled within, no longer feared, but carried as a song. Her steps grew lighter, her breath calmer, her spirit whole. The sea shimmered below, alive with gentle waves once still. Her awakening had breathed life into the waters again. At the horizon, dawn stretched golden fingers across the sky. This was not the end of her journey, but a beginning. The air whispered welcome, soft and warm against her skin. Birds sang once more. The forest stirred with quiet joy. She was no longer a traveler, but a bearer of balance. Her village gathered when she returned, eyes wide with hope. They had seen storms dance and felt the earth shift. They knew something had changed, though none could name it. Lyra stood among them, not with power, but with peace. The Thunderblade is not a weapon, she said gently. It is a song, a harmony of water, stone, wind, shadow. It is not mine alone. It belongs to all of us. The villagers listened, fear softening into wonder and trust. Children stepped closer, their eyes bright with curiosity. Elders bowed their heads, sensing truth in her words. She told of rivers, mountains, caves, valleys, seas, storms. Each had shaped her not with power, but with lessons. The people began to listen to the world anew. Wind became guidance, stone became grounding, shadows became wisdom, water became a teacher of flow, patience, and change. Lyra knew her journey was far from over yet. The Thunderblade's light was not meant to rest in one place. Its song must travel, to awaken, to remind, to guide. Nights grew brighter. Storms now watched with reverence and awe. Lightning became a reminder that earth and sky are one. Lyra often sat by the river, glowing with quiet peace. She laughed with children, telling stories of mountain and storm, but the horizon always called with a promise of path. The Thunderblade was not meant to linger, but to move. Its song must reach others who had forgotten balance. One dawn, she stood again at the village's edge. She carried no sword, no shield, no armor at all. Only the Thunderblade's song burning steady within her. The people did not beg her to stay behind. They watched with pride, with hope, with quiet trust. Lyra smiled, lifting her eyes to the horizon ahead. She stepped forward into sunlight, her journey renewed again. The storm chose her not to rule, but to remind, not to silence the world, but to teach its song. And so she walked on, the bearer, the guardian, the voice. The song of the storm had only just begun.